Hood Up presents
Stand, draw, attack, guard, stand, draw, attack, guard, stand, draw, attack, guard, stand, draw, attack, guard.
True Duelist Kingdom. Welcome back to HBKARDS. Today, we're going to take some time to go over my Infinity Avatar deck. And it's time to show you how to build one yourself. I'll have a video on that specifically, but for now, here's how I built mine. Donzin. Hey YouTube, HBKARDS here. And I wanted to go over something that's long past due. That being my Infinity deck. Unlimited Blade Works. Celebrations are in order. Now, I've been telling you guys about the Infinity format for a couple weeks, couple months technically, if you consider the fact that it disappeared for a while, but I'm here, I'm back. I'll be going over my deck first, as in the next coming weeks, I'll be showing some Infinity games. But I first want to give you an idea of what, an Infinity deck can be built like, you know what I mean? So let's get into that. I am the bone of my sword. 1 million fights fought, 1 million fights won. Unknown to life, yet untouched by death. This is my unlimited Blade Works! My Infinity deck revolves around a couple signature cards. The first and probably most important of which being this continuous spell card here, known as Gear Breed. Now, what Gear Breed does is, during my draw phase, I can choose to say, screw that card, and not draw a card, and instead add from my deck to my hand one equip spell, or from my grave to my hand one equip spell. My deck revolves around a guy who's able to reach into another dimension and grab and pull forth weaponry, mainly swords. So I make it so that at different points in the game, I'm able to grab weapons and equip them to myself, even if I have to do it quickly, such as with Armory Call or so on. Now, as you can imagine, as I'm playing a deck full of equipping, right, I want to play warrior type monsters. Now, the type of warriors I play are not an archetype. This is not tribes, okay? If you're looking for archetype this, archetype that, and automatically get to do this because you control said name monster, then you're on the wrong video. Go and find the Infinite Tribes video. In fact, I'll link it right here. Bing! Now, what this is going to go over is, and I'm not going to go card by card by card. I thought I would actually do that. I don't think that's the way. I just want to give you an idea of what the deck is about. So, the deck is about equipping yourself with, equip spells, right? I want to make the monsters have a nice amount of attack points, genuinely somewhere around 16, 17, that's fine, you know what I mean? Most of my stuff is battle oriented. You think Tosuke Knight. If I have no hand and the opponent attacks me directly, I can special summon him from the graveyard and in my opponent's battle phase. Most of my monsters fall within the Earth category. Right, the earth attribute, but I also do have some fire attribute monsters as well, not just to mix it up, but because I have a fiery spirit. But even beyond that, I have that because there's actually a backup effect that my Gear Breed has that says once per turn, I can return, if I have a equip spell on one of my monsters, I can return a fire attribute monster from the graveyard to my deck, to the bottom of my deck to draw a card. That's actually really good. That's really good. Now, I have a couple different fire monsters in here. Not all that many that matter that much, but one of the ones that does matter the most is this here, Infernoble Knight, right? This card, what it does is, I call it yugioh. Infernoble Knight, yugioh. It's probably pronounced completely differently. It's like French, but I say yugioh. Now, when yugioh is summoned, I can send one equip spell or one fire warrior monster directly from my deck to the graveyard. All right, so that gives me access to having another equip spell in the graveyard, or just having access to one. Not that particularly matters. In fact, I never send the equip spell. I do it specifically to send a fire warrior to the grave, and I have a fire warrior that's meant to go to the graveyard, and we'll be getting into who that is just a little later on. But for right now, just know that this thing, its main use in here is actually, while it's in the graveyard, once per turn, I can target a face-up warrior monster on my field, equip this card from the graveyard to that monster, and make that monster indestructible by card effects. Okay? So he can become someone else's sword. I'm talking straight out of Soul Eater, transforming into a weapon for another person. All right. And that's a really awesome effect, if you ask me. Absolutely amazing. That allows me to protect any of my warriors. And because I like to equip, people are going to want to blow my stuff up. I'm attacking with like 30, 40 sometimes, you know what I mean? Like 4,000 attack points, like half your life points if you take this, you know what I'm saying? So, people are going to want to blow up my stuff. And that prevents that from happening. And if, it never would be a situation where I don't really feel like using him. I'm just put him on someone if he's in the graves. But let's say I had a whole back row full of spell and traps and I don't have any room. But, I still want to get some use out of him. I can still use Gear Breed. He is a fire warrior. Send him to the bottom and draw a clean card. Absolutely amazing. I have a couple signature equip spells in here. I play, in no particular order, my favorite equip spell. Okay, there might have been a particular order. My favorite equip spell, Fighting Spirit. This equip card can equip to anything. Doesn't have to be a warrior, which I like a lot. Not that that matters, because my whole deck is warriors. But it can equip to anything. And it gives the equip monster 300 attack points for every monster the opponent controls. So, the more you try to spam, the stronger I get. And in a format such as this, where people are only summoning one, maybe two monsters a turn, depending on, their understanding of the format, and how it's supposed to be a slower moving format, Fighting Spirit works really, really well. Like, really well. I like this card a lot. So, and also it has a backup effect, protection effect of if you would destroy my monster by battle, I can send away the Fighting Spirit to the grave anyway, but my monster's still up and ready to go. Really cool. Right behind it is probably the most the most important equip spell in my arsenal. Double-edged sword, my second favorite, and probably the strongest equip spell I have. This equip spell gives 2,000 attack points to one monster, but I can only control one of these. It's a very heavy sword, so my character can only really carry it around but so much, you know what I mean? It's very heavy. I can only control one of these, then it gives 2,000 attack points to my monster. Now, the backdraw of giving 2,000, a quarter of max life points to someone is that it's a double-edged sword. So as I hit you and I deal damage, I take the same amount of battle damage that you take concerning the sword. So if I hit you and you take 13 damage from it, I also take 13. If the damage I deal to you is ever 2,000 or more with this, the sword will be destroyed. Which I picture as the sword, being dropped. He just drops the sword. And the reason I say it that way instead of it blowing into a million pieces, it's because I can just pick the sword back up. Remember? Gear Breed? Armory Call. So, I definitely have access to the sword. So it's not dead. So, yeah, absolutely. Then I've also got my Noble Arms Adifiditer. Pretty sure that's also not how that's pronounced. But it's an equip spell that allows me to pop face down cards. No, you heard me right. Face down cards. This equip spell, by lowering the attack points of the equipped monster by 500, can destroy face down cards. That is face down spells, face down traps, and even face down monsters. That is amazing. Now, for such a wide-ranging card, I can only equip it to a warrior monster, which is the same with all of the noble arms, known as holy arms in Japanese. But all of the holy arms can only be equipped to warrior monsters. It's very powerful. And of course, if it's sent from the field to the graveyard, I can target a face-up noble knight monster and equip this to it. Not that I would need to, but that does give me a bit of a slight loop. I don't know about loop, but a very interesting way of utilizing it. Remember, I have in for noble knight. I have an in for noble knight in my deck. So Ogre in my deck, so I can always equip Ogre, but Ogre is rarely in the monster zone. It's usually in the back row, so it doesn't ever get that effect off. But at the very least, it can still pop face downs. Now, another thing I could do is if the opponent has a warrior, I can equip this to them and lower their attack points as well. It's very powerful, to say the least. And warriors are, as you can imagine, they're not rare. They're quite common, actually. So it stands to reason their opponent could have a warrior eventually. So that's pretty good. All right, and next I've got Mordschlag. Now this I also don't know where that's from. I don't think that's French. It might be. Anyway, Mordschlag. This is an equip spell that says equip only to a normal summoned or set monster. Wait a tick. How in the hell would I ever equip this to a set monster? Very, very interesting. But what that means is if your monster is face up on the field, actually, like what? Like, is it like I have to set the monster first and then let my opponent attack into it, and then it's flipped up. It wasn't summoned, right? But it was set, so it's considered to have hit the field after being a set monster. I guess that's the only way that works. But I mean that's stupid. Why would I do that? Warriors are high attack point monsters. Monsters. They don't really have like high defense. It's irony because they, like warriors and knights tend to defend things. But we ain't gonna get into that anyway. The equipped monster is unaffected by my opponent's activated effects of special summoned monsters. So while people naturally can't spam extra deck in this format to begin with anyway, if you do find a way to get into your extra deck, you can't affect my monster who is equipped with this with card effects. Very good. Very, very good. Now I do have to be careful because, there will be tornado dragons running around in the format. Well, yes and no, depending on which format you're playing it in. If you're playing Avatar, which is what this is, then probably not, unless the character of your opponent has wind powers, then they're not just throwing out a tornado dragon. But naturally, you kind of get my point. So, they'd have to find some way to pop this that's within their character's arsenal if they're playing, Avatar. If they are not playing Avatar and they're just kind of doing whatever the hell they so please, just playing pure Infinity, then in that case, then yeah, they could Tornado Dragon and blow this off the face of the map. But that's still fine because I could just pick it back up. Gear Breed, it's so good. Now, beyond that, here's the most important part. If the equipped monster battles an opponent's special summoned monster, that opponent's special summoned monster loses attack and defense equal to my equipped monster's original attack during damage calculation only. So if I put this on Tasuke Knight with his 1700 attack points, then you're going to lose 1700 attack and defense when you battle him, as long as you were special summoned. It doesn't have to be from the extra deck, as long as you're special summoned at all. Tasuke Knight battles a Cyber Dragon, that Cyber Dragon's going down. You know what I mean? Now, how am I going to utilize this to the best of my ability? Well, I have a couple things in mind if you're willing to listen to me. One of the first things that comes to mind is my favorite level 4 in here, which is a monster who is known as the Battle Survivor. This guy has fought through many, many battles, and yet he still stands here, completely rugged and torn up, but still standing strong and ready to defend other people, and kind of just scavenging anything he can, get his hands on to keep himself alive. And that's kind of what his effect will reflect as things work like that in Avatar. Now, what he does is, while he's face up on the field, once per turn, if a card, that could be monster, spell, or trap, went from my field to the graveyard during the battle phase of the turn that he was face up, I can add one of those sent cards back to my hand at the end of the battle phase. So what I like to do is I like to equip him with double-edged sword to give him 2,000 attack, making his attack 3,600, which is enough to kill even a Blue Eyes or even extra deck monsters easily in one slice. So I like to equip that to him and make him strong as hell, and then attack. Now, if your attack points, right, were, as you can imagine, at least 1,600, if your attack was at least 1,600 or less when I hit you, then, we're both, because I have to take the damage too, we're both taking 2,000 damage to the left eye socket. And that, of course, means he has to drop the sword, because that's how double-edged sword works. But remember, he has the ability, if a card goes from the field to the graveyard during the battle phase, in the turn that he is face up on the field, I get to add that card back to my hand. So, he just picks the sword back up. It's absolutely amazing. Donson, really cool. So that works really well with him. I like to put Mordschlag on him as well, just to keep him safe from other effects. It's really good. It's pretty good. Fighting Spirit's a good combo with him too. So he's kind of my main guy I like to equip. Because, if he would be destroyed, I could send Fighting Spirit to the grave instead. And then during the end of the battle phase, add Fighting Spirit back to the hand. I think you start to get the point. So he allows me to revolve my equip spells. In case I haven't gotten into Gear Breed and I can't do what I call the Unlimited Blade Works, which is using Gear Breed. I even say the whole chant when it happens. Then I have him as a backup to being able to manipulate my equip spells. That makes sense, right? Makes a lot of sense. All right. So Battle Survivor is absolutely amazing. If I need to defend myself, I've got Gardner. When an opponent's monster declares a direct attack, I can special summon this big defense monster, with 2,000 defense, maxed out defense, if you will. I summon him from my hand, and if he would be destroyed by battle, I can send a card from my hand to the graveyard instead to keep him alive. I like to send Sasuke Knight with that because it has a graveyard effect. But I have a couple warriors that actually work in the graveyard and are okay to send away. In fact, I got a nice amount of them. I've got like my rookie warrior lady, who from the graveyard can banish herself to add an Earth Warrior from my grave to my hand. She also is an Honest for Earth Warriors, by the way, a Dark Honest. So she lowers the opponent's attack equal to their own attack. Concerning other warriors that are okay to send to the grave, Ogel, I think you guys already know that. It's pretty good to send to the grave. I've got my, any of my giant warriors are kind of okay to send to the grave, such as my Pirate Knight, who while he's in the graveyard or my hand, I can target a warrior monster, earth or fire, I control, bounce that monster to the hand and special summon him. While he's out, I can also special summon a warrior out my, hand, so he's really powerful. I can also send away my War Rock Bashilos. This guy, he comes out the graveyard for warriors killed. And then I've also got my Mirage Swordsman. This is the guy I've been alluding to this entire time. That I will almost never get to use his summoning effect that works from the graveyard. Because I rarely go into my extra deck to go into fusion summon, but I can do so if I wanted to. Like I said, I've had a couple warriors that are okay to send to the grave with Gardner to keep him alive. He's my defender. And I guess while we're here, we can just go over this now. My Mirage Swordsman has the ability, if this card battles an opponent's monster, if I wish, I could destroy both monsters. Just explode them with high firepower, right? Now, why would I do that if I probably worked my behind off to get a 2,800 point monster on the field? Well, I, being the douchebag that I am, I can put Ogel onto him to equip him and make him indestructible by card effects. So anybody he battles gets exploder sized and he survives the battle. That is my ultimate combo, essentially. Is it easy to get rid of it? Yeah, probably. Just use Karma Cut or something like that. But remember, this is an avatar deck. So that means that you're not just going to easily blow him up unless it's within your character's powers. And that's not to say that there aren't characters that do have powers that can get rid of them. Of course there are. But you've got to know how to do it. You got to know how to set up your deck to be able to do so. Avatar play is a lot more interesting because you can't just, Lightning Vortex, that's actually a pretty good card in Infinity. But, Lightning Storm or something like that just randomly, unless your character has lightning, you ain't doing it. You know what I mean? So find another way to beat him. He's still, able to, no, you can't beat him in battle either because it'll explode you. So you can't kill him by card effect, can't kill him by battle. So you have to target him and remove him. That's a little harder to do. That's why he's my ultimate. So very powerful. And I've got like my Blue Flame Swordsman as well, who has the ability of, he can share 600 points of his attack points to someone else, right? To another warrior, and that's permanent. And he can do that on either player's turn. So, he's kind of like a shorthand way of being able to increase my people. Bullblader destroys anybody he battles, in a battle. He can destroy them. So, whether he wins or loses, he's really powerful for that. And I've got my tuner Comrade Swordsman and Landstar so I can get into my synchros. And I've got Puppet Rook. This is a really powerful card. When it's summoned, I can send an Earth Warrior from my deck to the graveyard. Okay? Monsters that the opponent controls cannot attack other monsters on the field other than Puppet Rook, and they have to attack Puppet Rook every turn. And if you attack Puppet Rook, which you have to, you can't even get out of, you have to enter your battle phase. If you do, in fact, attack Puppet Rook, he would then sacrifice himself to bring back a level 6 or higher warrior monster out the grave, and then force you to attack that. Absolutely amazing card. Obviously, he's like the Earth version of Ogel, right? And I've got some cool spells in here, like my Unprecedented Winds, also known as Blustering Winds. It allows me to target a face-up monster I control, give it 1,000 attack and defense until my next standby phase. That's just so me. But you know what's really so me? That's so Raven. No, that's not it. Ego Boost. Right? Ego Boost is the most me. If you couldn't tell, I am an arrogant asshole, if you couldn't tell. So, my Ego Boost is a representation of my character's personality type. A quick play spell that gives 1,000 attack until the end of the battle phase, right? To one monster on the field. That allows me to, kind of quickly protect myself. Now, mind you, I don't have very many ways to keep myself protected from targeting. That's kind of the weakness, and it's kind of built in on purpose because, I'm not trying to be all around just completely unstoppable. Not that would make me unstoppable, but you get my point. Like, like every character should have a weakness, and I built that into there. That's how you know that, I'm not doing the, as I call it, existence juice. You know what I mean? I'm actually figuring out a way to make it so that the character is fair. That's very important. Very important. I play 2 Rhoda because it's not limited in our format. So, of course, and I have a lot of level 4 lower warriors that I obviously want to search out. I've got this crossover spell, very powerful. I can turn my opponent's monster into a equip spell from my warrior monster. And then if my warrior monster would be destroyed, I could just destroy the card that I took instead. Very powerful in its own right. I've got a bunch of stuff like that. I've got Salamandra Fusion, which I'll get into some other day. Also, I do play Infernoble Arms Hakuture. Hakuture! Slice that thing. But it's a pair of double swords, which are kind of my favorite weapons. And the equip monster that I equip this on, by destroying the swords, I give that monster the ability to attack twice per battle phase. But no other monster can attack. I'm thinking about actually switching that out with Phoenix Gearblade, which can do the same thing, if you will, but allows all of my fire monsters to attack twice, just murderizing the opponent. Absolutely insane. That's so up my alley. I'm a multi-attacker in every card game I play in. But the reason I haven't made the change just yet is because there's another effect of Hakuture. If this card, Hakuture, spit on that thing. If this card is sent to the graveyard, because the equipped monster is sent to the graveyard, I can target a face-up monster in the field and destroy it. So it also kind of, doubles as my removal, since I don't have very much of that, since I'm all battle phase oriented. Which, of course, means I am kind of susceptible to stuff like Mirror Force and such. But, Then I've got Premature Burial. Now, this equip spell, I don't even think it needs an introduction. And yes, it is unbanned. It is actually usable in this format. Because there's kind of no reason not to use it. Sure, is it able to be manipulated? Probably. But by this point, every card can kind of be manipulated. So why not? I don't know why Konami is even keeping it on the ban list to begin with. So, pay 800 life points, special summon a monster from my grave in attack mode and equip it with this card. What's so bannable about that by today's standards, where you can literally pendulum summon 5 monsters to the field? Get out of here. So yeah, absolutely. Nah, man, this card is fine. And it's an equip spell, so I can, in fact, manipulate it with Gear Breed. Allow me to, as long as I'm willing to keep sacrificing the life points, I can have an infinite access to whatever monster that enters my grave. And as you know, my deck also sends monsters to the grave, such as way of Ogel or my Puppet Rook. So I've got a nice number of ways to really utilize that. Trap card wise, I play a couple cards and they have to match me and my characters, such as my Heartfelt Appeal. If I take battle damage from an opponent's direct attack, I take their monster. Become my friend right now, Donzen. And I take their monster until my next end phase. So I keep their monster literally throughout their turn and into my turn until my next turn ends. I'm going to link that that friend in me. You got a friend in me, And then I've got Armory Call. This is the quick, it's not actually a quick play. Quick play would be an absolutely terrible way of describing this for those who are just listening and not actually watching or whatever. What if they're doing this on podcasts or something? I just sound like a newscaster or something. Today on, HBK, HBKARDS news and stuff. But anyway, I've got Armory Call, a trap card that allows me to take an equip spell from my deck and add it to my hand. Then equip it to my monster if I wish. So being able to pull the sword out of the dimension at a moment's notice. And that's exactly what's happening on the artwork. And this card is actually the reason I made the deck to begin with. This is the origin of the idea of the Unlimited Blade Works deck. Then I've also got Memory of an Adversary. I remember saying I wasn't going to go card by card. Well, there's to that. Memory of an Adversary. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, I can take battle damage from that attacking monster. AKA, I can make it essentially a direct attack. And if I do, banish their monster. So you think, oh, that's removal. Cool. No, it's a memory of an adversary. You used to be an opponent. Now you're my friend, like everybody else. And after I banish their monster, during the end phase of my opponent's next turn, that monster is special summoned to my side of the field. So by taking the damage, I take their monster. Sound familiar? It's the same concept as Heartfelt Appeal. I like making friends, and I'm going to make friends with many people. In order to do that, I've got to play Infinity with you all. So come on into the server and face me on Discord. Donzen. Shameless plug activated. I've also got Expendable Guy, or Expendable Die. with this card, I can tribute a warrior monster, target a card on field, blow it up, and draw a card. It's literally the warrior version of Fish Depth Charge. Very powerful in its own right. In my best trap is my Battle Guard Howling. A normal trap that says if a warrior monster I control is attacked or is targeted by an opponent's monster's effect, I could target a face-up monster the opponent controls, could be the monster they're attacking with, or something else, or whatever I want on their field, any monster on their field. I can inflict damage to them equal to that monster's original attack, kind of magic cylindering them, if you will, and then bounce them to the hand. So this card is literally a magic cylinder and a compulsory evacuation device all in one. Very powerful, and I like to play 2 copies of it, but for this example, I'm only going to show you the 1 copy, And that's kind of the point of the deck. I feel like that kind of gives you an idea of what everything is about. You know what I mean? Extra deck wise, I've got like 7 Swords Warrior. This is the only synchro that really matters, if you will. Like everybody matters, but this is the one that's on theme, really on theme. Generic Summon, level 7 Warrior, right? Once per turn, when an equip card is equipped to this card, inflict 800 damage to my opponent. So it's like my synchro version of Gaga Gunman, or as you guys call him, Gaga Cowboy. Pow pow! And I can obviously equip him pretty quickly to get that last 800 in the game. He also has, once per turn, I can target an equip spell I control, send it to the grave, and I can just do that. That's its effect. But it has another effect of, if an equip card equipped to him is sent to the graveyard, except during the damage step, I can target a face-up monster the opponent controls and destroy that target. So what I could do, and what I like to do, is I like to play crossover to target my opponent's best monster, equip it to him, and then send that monster away to pop an opponent's monster. Now, I've got a stronger version of that in the deck too that I didn't go over, which is my Buster Blader, the Destruction Swordmaster. If any monster in the opponent's field is destroyed by battle or card effect while Buster Blader is out to see it, and he goes, I saw that, I'm allowed to take one of those destroyed monsters and equip it to him as an equip spell. He's a headhunter. That makes me miss Sword Hunter. Back in my early days of when Infinity first was created. Might make him his own deck. Anyway, so he does that, right? And then he has the ability of sending one equipped monster card, one monster that's equipped to him, to the grave to literally lightning vortex my opponent's monsters who have the same type, not even attribute, but type as that. So the whole attribute bit was completely unnecessary. Rest in peace, attribute. You will always be missed as the wrong thing that was said at the wrong time. But yeah, Buster Blader, by sending the equipped monster that got killed to the graveyard, I can destroy all monsters that have the same type as him. It's actually very powerful in its own right. So he's a headhunter and just destroys everything. And then I've got a bunch of Xyzs, of course, because that's where you expect warriors to be extra deck wise, right? Like Comics Hero, King Arthur, and such like that. Burning Knuckler, King Dempsey, which is another version of Ogier, sending a fire warrior from the deck to the grave, or adding one to the hand, which can search out Ogier if I have to. Very powerful. I've got like, Heroic Champion Excalibur. I can only get him out by overlaying 2 level 4 warriors, detach 2 materials from him, and he doubles his attack points. His original attack, but still, I played 2 copies of him because that's right up my aisle. I've got Zubaba General, which also just takes 2 level 4s, generic, detach a material from him, right, to make a warrior in my hand equipped to him as a sword. So, more equipping monsters, and of course, you guys already know I can do a lot with equipped monsters, but for the most part, that is my Infinity deck. It's a deck that revolves around equipping yourself, whether you have to do it every turn, slowly, or if you have to do it out of nowhere to keep up with the opponent. Being able to equip yourself with the tools necessary in order to keep the opponent at bay and to win every fight you get in, because no one's beating a warrior in a battle of brute strength. Well, that's about everything. That's all I really need to tell you. Hopefully you guys understand the type of deck you need to make and the mindset you need to make sure that everything within there is within, your character style, who your character is, their personality type. This has been a deck for Avatar. Now, at some point, I'll make a Infinite Tribes deck as well to give you guys an idea how that goes, but that'll be, in a couple videos. The next video is actually going to be finally what a game looks like in Infinity and Avatar. And I just may have a special guest there with me. Who knows? So, until next time, YouTube, my friends, and the True Duelist Kingdom, remember, fight with your whole soul. And when you link your heart to the cards, miracles can happen. Donzi, see you out there.